Well, I have a full screen now.
It's like Hollywood Squares.
Okay, friends, let's take a conscious breath together, a deep breath. 3 deep breaths. And with a deep in-breath. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Well, what do you know? There's a fifth agreement. Well, you studied the 4 agreements, and there's a fifth one. And the fifth one, the book, was written not only by Don Miguel Ruiz, but also his son, Don Jose Ruiz. So let's go over in our minds what the first 4 agreements were. The first agreement is,
Be impeccable with your word.
Be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable. And the second agreement is,
Don't take anything personally.
don't take anything personally. In particular, the things that you feel like they're meant for you or loved ones, in particular, don't take those things personally. Don't take anything personally. And what's the third agreement? Jan.
I'm drawing a blank. Give me the first word.
Don't make assumptions.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Don't make assumptions. Isn't it interesting how we remember some of them and other ones just don't seem to stick? Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the ones that don't stick are the ones we need to work on the most. I don't know. Don't make assumptions. And what's the fourth agreement?
Always do your best.
Always do your best.
Seems to me that could just be the whole thing.
It could.
Just always do your best.
I know it could. Actually, any one of them could be the only one, and the others could be considered supplementary.
Right.
Well, when different things come up in our life, sometimes a little different take on it can help us. So here we are in chapter 8 of the book, the fifth agreement. And the fifth agreement is, be skeptical, but learn to listen. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. So let's see. What do you think we ought to be skeptical of? What comes up for you?
Certain judgmental beliefs, or almost all of them, they have some resonance to this from the speaker's point of view. Deep within each one of us, there's a feeling in need, but yet the words are not accurate. In other words, they're judgmental thoughts. They're not the true essence of who we are.
Well, let's see. Does anyone bring up the vision of a used car salesman? Be skeptical. Or a politician? Be skeptical, but learn to listen.
Right.
something in the common consciousness. Common consciousness. So it's interesting. I heard you say, Sam, we need to be skeptical of some things that come up for us. And for me, the first thing that came up was being skeptical of what I hear from certain types of people.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's dive into it and see how this new agreement can be useful for us. The fifth agreement is be skeptical, but learn to listen. Be skeptical because most of what you hear isn't true.
Right. Yeah.
Now, this is not to say that people are liars. No, no. It's just because most of what we hear are words. And as we know, words don't often represent the exact truth, rather an interpretation, an agreement. So it's not because we lie or other people's lie. We can depend on our good intentions and other people's good intentions, but there's another issue. You know that humans speak with symbols. Symbols are words, and that symbols are not the truth. They're just the only means we have for communication, like I'm talking to you now. But our experience of the truth is the truth. It's not the symbols. Symbols are only the truth, or seem like it, because we agree. We're all agreed on the words we hear and speak, not because they're really the truth. So remember the green puck?
Yes.
Oh, green puck. So the words green puck is not really the truth. It was our experience of that, really the truth. But since we all agree that green pucks are called green pucks, that seems like the truth for us. But the second half of the agreement is learn to listen. And the reason is simple. When you learn to listen, you understand the meaning of the symbols or behind the symbols that people are using. You understand their story, and the communication improves a lot. So when we can look behind the symbols as to what they mean, so there's some understanding of what's going on behind the words, then the communication improves. Once you realize that hardly anything you know through symbols represents the experience of truth, it's true, then be skeptical has a much bigger meaning. Hardly anything you know through symbols is true, then be skeptical has a much bigger meaning. Whenever you hear a message from yourself, as Sam talked about a little earlier, or from another artist, Don Rees calls people artists because in a way we create our reality through the words that we choose. So whenever you hear a message, simply ask, is it the truth or is it not the truth? So whenever we hear a message from ourselves, this is the tough one, to notice that our mind is cranking away. Can we learn the technique of stepping back from our own minds and saying, is this really the truth, the absolute truth, or am I putting a spin on it? In other words, am I being impeccable with my word? Or are my reactions, my emotions putting a spin on this? Is it reality or is it virtual reality? Is it a green puck or is it just the words green puck? That's virtual. Or is it my experience? The doubt takes you behind the symbols and makes you responsible for every message you deliver and receive. So rather than being a victim of what our minds think and on and on, or what we hear from others to which we react. This practice of being skeptical can take you behind the symbols, the words, so that we're responsible. We're responsible for every message we deliver and receive. It's just another little memory jogger, like the 4 agreements, when things get confusing. Why would you want to invest your faith in any message that is not true? Ones you receive and ones you hand out. It's sort of like when we feel compelled to voice our opinion, and it just seems to want to pop right out, especially in reaction to something we've heard. Now, are you being impeccable with your word, with that opinion? So when it pops up what you want to say, can you step back and put a little smile on your face and just be a little skeptical before you invest your faith in any message you want to deliver that may not be true? Another little helper. By being skeptical, you don't believe every message. You don't put your faith in symbols. And when your faith is not in symbols, your faith is in yourself. So by being skeptical, it's not that you come from a position and everything you want to say or hear is a falsehood. No, it's just you're able to step back a little bit, especially when you're in a reactionary mode, so that those messages that pop up, you just don't believe them 100% until you be a little skeptical, because they are symbols. And you don't want to put your faith in symbols, rather in yourself. Your ability to step back and be with the messages you want to deliver and the ones you hear. I wish I could practice this all the time. I hear lots of messages, especially in the political season, and I just tend to react. Then, if faith is believing without a doubt, and doubt is not believing, be skeptical, which doesn't mean you don't believe. It doesn't mean you totally give up your faith, but you're just able to step back from it. In other words, don't believe without stepping back.
That word discernment comes to mind. Believe in the intention, believe in their feelings and needs, but the actual words, sometimes we might trip up ourselves when we're trying to speak it. And also when we're listening to it. It's so that just trying to discern, I think, is a key word here.
It is discernments. We have beliefs and we have faith. We got faith to some extent and we have beliefs. But can a little part of us develop the capacity not to believe our beliefs without first just a little smile and being skeptical?
Right.
That's how we take control rather than let the symbols in our minds, our so-called knowledge, run us. Thank you, Sam. So, and what will you believe? Well, you must not believe all the stories that we artists create with our knowledge. All the stories. Life's a story. How does your mind work? It tells you stories. When you hear communications from other people, generally, what are they? They are stories. So we must not believe all the stories. It's not that we can't step back and find some truth in them, but we just have the ability to be a little skeptical. You know that most of our knowledge isn't true. The whole symbology isn't true. So don't believe me, don't believe yourself, and don't believe anybody else. These are pretty strong words, aren't they?
Mhm.
Most of our knowledge isn't true. The whole symbology is symbology, not truth. So it's not that symbology isn't useful, our thoughts, our knowledge. It's just not true in the fundamental sense. So we need to develop a habit of not believing ourselves. And Don Ruiz says, don't even believe me. Don't believe anybody. The truth doesn't need you to believe it. So there it is. The truth doesn't need you to believe it. The truth simply is, and it survives whether you believe it or not. So that's where he's headed. The truth doesn't need you to believe it. It just is. And that truth survives whether you believe it or not. Lies, on the other hand, need you to believe them. Lies need you to believe them. If you don't believe lies, they don't survive your skepticism and they simply disappear. Lies need you to believe them. One of the things that the great propagandists understand is that if you have a lie and it's a great big lie and you repeat it again and again and again and again, people will begin to believe it.
Sounds like TV.
TV, right. 9 out of 10 dentists smoke Lucky Strikes. 9 out of 10 dentists smoke Lucky Strikes. That was an advertisement when I was a kid. 9 out of 10 dentists smoke Lucky Strikes.
Is it dentists or doctors? I thought it was doctors.
Probably doctors. Probably doctors. Now we kind of laugh at that now.
Yeah.
We look at the movies at the time of Nazi Germany and these huge lies that were put out there and repeated again and again and again. And you see how people believed them. And we look to say, my goodness, those Germans were certainly gullible people. They believed all that. And they believed it with great fervor. Great fervor. So can we look at the lies in the present day that are repeated again and again and again and again and see that some people believe them? Of course, we don't, but maybe some people do. So if we don't believe the lies and you're a bit skeptical, then they disappear for us. They may not disappear for others. Sometimes it's good to do a little exercise because these concepts are kind of theoretical. So I have a little exercise here. Won't take long. The power of doubt. Here's a slide from early on in our 4 agreements series. Symbology is only the truth because we agree, that is, we believe. The words are only the truth because we agree upon it. We believe. Not because it's really the truth. The truth. Everything we know, all of our knowledge is really about agreements, beginning with the symbols we learn. So there's the truth and the symbols. So here's a familiar truth, and we'll look at the symbology behind it. Ready? Truth. See the truth. What's the symbology? Green puck.
Green puck.
Green puck. That's our symbology. Now, if other people see this, they say, "Oh, you got it wrong. It's a green cup." No, we say it's a green puck. That's our truth. That's our symbology. So there's the truth and the symbology. Well, folks, my story is the green puck is beautiful. That's my story. I tell it to my friends and my relatives. I'm telling it to you. The green puck is beautiful. What is your story? Tell your story to yourself. Do you have a story? What is it? What's your story? Is that green puck beautiful? What is your story? Maybe you don't give a darn about the green puck at all. Is the green puck beautiful? Or is your story truth or is it virtual reality? So if you have a little story, is your story truth or is it virtual reality? Now, my story is that green puck is beautiful. And if I'm a little skeptical about my word, I can step back and say, well, that's just a virtual reality that I created. So that's my answer. Someone is saying somewhere that green puck is worthless and a leaker. That green puck is worthless and a leaker. And they repeat it again and again and again. The green puck is worthless and a leaker. Lies need you to believe them. Is it true the green puck is a leaker? Is that true for you? These are just little mind exercises. Is it true the green puck is a leaker? Is this story truth or is it virtual reality? Truth or virtual reality? So this is just a fun little way to look at how our minds work. That's the little exercise. Any comments or questions on kind of a silly little exercise?
Steve, it's interesting to, if you go back a slide, please.
This one? Oh,
The next one.
This one?
Yeah. So, oftentimes, and it really goes back to the first principle, the first agreement, it's like we have this belief and somehow we're trying to spit it out. There's this like unconsciousness that hasn't awakened within. And, I want to share something and try to bring truth to it, but yet it's convoluted by the story and the belief that I'm holding within. And when I speak it, it doesn't come out exactly in terms of definitive, articulate choice of words. So it's before speaking is to feel into the longing of the energy behind the words, right? So that I could truly be fully present to the self-awareness of wanting to be articulate and accurate without pulling into my story or other story and creating this interdependentness. Does that make sense?
We are speaking beings. That's our nature.
Yeah.
We communicate with each other through symbols, through talking. Now, in your mind, go back to the screen, or I can go back there. So here's the truth. This is the truth. Whatever I say about this, whatever story I make up, whatever story I hear about it,
Yeah.
whatever story I believe, whatever story I think is a lie, this is the truth. This is the truth. So that's the whole point that's being made here. This is the truth. And then there are stories about it. We do our best to be impeccable with our word so that the stories reflect this experience we're now experiencing.
Yeah.
By the words we use, the name we give it, green puck, green cup, the story about it, it's beautiful, it's worthless, it leaks. So we try to be impeccable with our word. The point of this last fifth agreement is be skeptical and learn the lesson is be skeptical of anything except this experience of the truth and learn just to step back from the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we know if a story is true or not? The way we know is actually we just have a feeling and we know.
Mm-hmm.
And we just have to let that experience, you're experiencing what you experience in the image and the story about it, something about it, we have to go with our gut feeling when stories don't seem true.
Yeah, thank you. It seems to me the being with, as you kind of, what I'm hearing is just being with the energy underneath the story and being with that, the divine energy of needs that we're trying to express behind the story, underneath the story.
Right, we don't have to analyze it. There's just the truth. Now you're experiencing it, and then there's a story.
Yeah.
How the story comes up, what's the origin of the story, why we need stories, and analyzing it, that's fine. But the basic thing is there's the truth, here it is, and then there's stories. Stories are the best we have to replicate truth from one to another and to ourselves. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can push on here.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Sam. Symbolize the truth because we agree. Oh, there's a green puck. My story is the puck's beautiful. What's your story? Someone is saying it's a leaker. Is it a leaker? Is it a virtual reality? So that's the exercise. Any other comments or questions? Skepticism can go in two directions. So here we go. Here's the danger. One way is to pretend to be skeptical because you think you're too smart to be gullible. Well, I know that's true of us. None of us are gullible. We're all too smart. But we know other people who are gullible, don't we? They believe all sorts of nonsense and we don't understand. how other people can believe such nonsense. Because we're too smart to be gullible. That's our story. Here's my story. I'm too smart to be gullible. That's my story. Do I believe that? There's a little part of me that's skeptical when I think I'm too smart to be gullible. Look at how intelligent I am. That goes for each of us, right? I don't believe in anything. Nothing can fool me. This is not skepticism. To be skeptical is not to believe everything you hear, and you don't believe because it's not the truth, that's all. So it has nothing to do with gullibility. So not believing everything you hear is just because it's not that image that we saw on the screen, that green thing. Because everything you hear is a story about it. That thing is a green buck. No, well, that's not the truth, is it? That's just symbology. But that's how we communicate, with symbology. So our stories are just not the absolute truth. They're just the best we can do to express it. The way to be skeptical is just to be aware, I think that's what Sam was saying, well, that the entire humanity, that includes us, believes in lies. And the lie is that our language, our symbols, is a way of expressing the truth, when it's not. It's just a way of expressing stories about the truth. So entire humanity, including us, believes that the words we speak are the absolute truth rather than that experience. So we just need to somehow be aware of that. You know that humans distort the truth because we are dreaming, as Don Rios says. And our dream is just a reflection of truth. Humans distort the truth because we are dreaming. Our dream is just a reflection of the truth. The Buddhists have a beautiful image that they use that I like when talking about truth or God or the divine. They say that all the speaking about that is like a finger pointing to the moon. The finger is not the moon. The finger is not the moon. It just points to it. So all of our language can be a reflection of truth or a reflection of a not truth. Every artist, that's us too, distorts the truth, but you don't need to judge what somebody says or call that person a liar. Where are we heading now? First, with this fifth agreement, be skeptical but learn to listen. We were examining ourselves and how the things that we tell ourselves and hear, the stories, we need to be skeptical of. Now, Don Ruiz is taking us to another area, how we interact with others. So just because we and others distort the experience of truth, we don't need to judge what somebody says. No, or call that person a liar. All of us, in some way or another, tell lies. And it's not because we want to lie. It's because of what we believe. It's because of the symbols we learned, the way we apply all the symbols. So we're just doing our best. Always do your best. That's what we're doing. We're doing our best using the words, the symbols. We don't want to lie. It's just symbols themselves aren't the ground truth. They're just a representation of it. So it's not because we want to lie. It's because of what we believe. We believe in those darn symbols. Once you are aware of this, the fifth agreement makes a lot of sense. And it can make a very big difference in your life. So just this awareness of the nature of language can make a big difference in our life. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. People will come to you and tell you their personal story. They will tell you their point of view, what they believe is the truth. This is what's going on all the time. I call a family member, we have a conversation, and one of my family members tells me their point of view, what they believe is the truth. Sometimes I know my family very, very well. One of my family members and I seem to have similar stories. So when this family member and I interact, I just know that we're going to have the same point of view. So when they tell me what they believe is true, generally I believe the same thing is true. Other members of my family come to me and tell me their personal story, their point of view, what they believe is true, and I don't see it as true. I see something else as true. I see something else as true. So what is mine to do in this situation? They're telling me a story. It just doesn't make sense. It's not a happy story, or it's not a truthful story, and it's not an uplifting story. It's a negative story. And it's what they believe is the truth. But you won't judge if it's truth or if it's not the truth. This is his recommendation. You won't judge if it's truth or not the truth. You don't have any judgment, but you do have respect. So that's our challenge. I just told you how I judge one of my family members. Yep, that person speaks the truth and we agree. I have another family member. Oh, I judge. Sometimes they don't speak the truth. So we have to let go of the judgments. Notice that they're there. They just seem to pop up automatically, but not get so attached to them. And rely on respect. Rely on respect. You listen to the way other people express their symbols, knowing that whatever they say is distorted by their beliefs. So my family member and I that agree a lot, somehow we have similar beliefs. We have similar beliefs about the way life is. We have similar affirmations. We have similar outlooks. And the family members expressing their symbols, with whom I don't agree, they have different underlying beliefs. They say different things. For example, I have a family member who says the following in joke, in jest. That person says, life's a bitch and then you die. Ha, ha, ha. Life's a bitch and then you die. And we laugh. But can you see, when you have underlying beliefs like that, it's going to lead you to a certain outlook on life. So all of us, all of our stories are distorted by our beliefs.
You know, it's interesting when we have these beliefs, it doesn't empower us to actually examine or seek the underlying truth of what we're trying to say. I believe most of it I believe most of it is a belief of what we've been taught indirectly from our society and our upbringing. And so I believe it's our environmental factors rather than the truth of before the knowledge tree, as the author puts it. You know, it's fascinating.
Yes, Sam, our beliefs are useful. I'm guessing that none of us here today had our arms twisted to go to Unity of Fairfax or any Unity church, for example.
Right.
We didn't have our arms twisted, and yet we chose to go to Unity of Fairfax. Now, one of the things that Unity does, it has a whole slew of beliefs that get repeated again and again. I am a divine person having a human experience. I am prosperous. I am good. And God is good. These are all beliefs. I think that one of the things that attracts people to Unity is the affirmative beliefs that we hear all the time. And we are choosing to believe these beliefs. Now, they're just beliefs. We could take some of these beliefs, like the world is prosperous and I have everything I need, and mention it to certain other people, and they would say, "Are you nuts? The world is a mess. Nobody has enough. People are starving. Can't you see that? Look at all the people being killed in wars. Look at the facts. You're just ignoring the way things are. There's so many poor people. There's so many disadvantaged people. There's so much prejudice." We like Unity because we like the positive beliefs. We choose these beliefs. And for me, the beliefs support me living a happy and fulfilling life.
Good example. Thank you.
And yet, can you even be skeptical of those wonderful Unity beliefs that we've repeated again and again and again and again? I am a child of God, Jesus taught us to say. Jesus taught us to say, I am the light of the world. You believe that? All right, everybody, let's do a little quick exercise. Ready? This is just a 10-second exercise. 1, 2, 3, here goes. Everybody say in unison on the count of 3, I am the light of the world. 1, 2, 3.
I am the light of the world.
light of the world.
I believe that I am the light of the world.
I believe that I am
the light of the world. You know, Steve, my mind goes to changing the to a. So I am a light of the world. It seems to fit my logical mind. I'm interconnected to all.
Sam. I am a light, meaning I'm not the only light. There's others.
Right.
Yes. But to my mind, right, my belief system, I'm just a tiny part of the big whole. Maybe perhaps that's my belief.
So that's how we choose our beliefs.
Yeah.
We do choose our beliefs. And yet, according to the Bible, well, we know the Bible is a translation, isn't it? But according to the English translation of the Bible, Jesus said, you are the light of the world. He didn't say you are a light of the world. He said you are the light of the world. I, like Sam, have struggled over that and said to myself, well, why didn't Jesus say you are a light of the world? There's all lots of lights out there. I haven't resolved that. But I think it's an example of how we can be skeptical in a wonderful way. Just be skeptical about our beliefs and learn to listen. Learn to listen. Learn to listen. Listen to ourselves. Listen to ourselves talking to ourselves. Wait a minute, I'm not the light of the world, I'm a light of the world. And so on. Learn to listen and step back from our own little mental conversations and just listen. You know that what your beliefs are telling you is nothing but a story. And you know that because you can feel it. I'm going to go back a slide here because you listen to the way other people express their symbols, knowing that whatever they say is distorted by their beliefs. That's where we're coming from. Other people express their symbols. It's distorted by their beliefs. You know that what they are telling you is nothing but a story, and you know that because you can feel it. So we can feel what's underneath other people's stories and our own stories. You just know. There's a part of us when hearing ourselves speak, having this conversation, you are a light, you are the light, and so on. The story. There's something that we feel and we just know. And that's what we need to get in touch with.
Yeah, very good. The divine energy within, yeah.
So am I going to believe I am the light of the world? Am I going to believe I am a light of the world? I'm just going to go deep inside and feel it so that I just know. I just know. And when I just know, it may defy logic. I may want to stick with I am the light of the world, even though it defies my logical mind, which my logical mind says, wait a minute, you're excluding all the other lights of the world. You should say, I am a light of the world. So what do I feel? What do I just know? And when I went through this exercise, which I did, just like Sam did, what came true for me was, I am the light of the world. Now, if my logical mind didn't like it, tough. I just know. I am the light of the world. So you need to do the same exercise. Be skeptical and see what you feel and go with what you just know. Thank you, Sam, for bringing up that intellectual interruption to implanting a belief so that we can go underneath it.
Yeah.
We just know. But you also know when their words come from truth, and you know without words, and that's the main point. You also know when their words or our words, our own words come from truth, and you just know that without words, and that's the main point. So you can see if you were being impeccable with your word, and you can see if others were being impeccable with their word by just knowing that without words, without an intellectual conversation. That's the main point. When I read, but you also know, I looked at my watch and I said, oh, but I also know it's about 10 to 11. So it's time to close our beautiful session today.
Thank you, Steve.
So I'm going to stop the screen share at this point. I can figure out how to do that. I did. So folks, any final shares before we close for the day?
I don't think so.
It's been beautiful to be with you. I thank you for joining us, and we'll carry on with our investigation next week. And let's see if during the week we can be skeptical,
Yeah,
but learn to listen.
that's our constant state lately, skeptical.
I agree. I agree. All right, shall we go for our closing Om together? Let's take 3 deep breaths together. And with a deep in breath. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Bye, everybody.
Go in peace, my friends. Della, did you have anything you need to say before I close the share down?
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. Just one thing. Yeah, I guess sometimes the lies need to you need to work harder to believe lies than truth because the lies are not real and the truth is real.
Can you say that again, please?
Or lies need to work harder to get you to believe them than the truth. Because lies are, not real and the truth is real.
I got it. Lies have to work harder to make you believe them because they're not real, whereas truth is more natural. Is that it?
Yeah, yes.
I got it. Maybe that's why people who want you to believe a lie repeat it again and again and again and again and again.
Yes, let's repeat it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if we can reimagine those peoples, even though we may disagree with them, and say, well, there's another light of the world. Can I see that? Jesus would have seen that they are a light of the world. Can I see that as well? That's a challenge. Well,
Thank you.
any other final comments before we shut down? Della?
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I think with these types of like spiritual things, for example, with be skeptical but be willing to learn. It's nice to Don Miguel Ruiz and his son who are writing this, but they're they've got some like wisdom from like their life experience, so they become like skeptical. But just being like skeptical doesn't make you wise, but as being wise will naturally make you more skeptical. So
That's the truth.
yeah, so it seems to me that just like trying to be like more skeptical won't really get you anywhere because it's really the wisdom that is what people seek.
I got it.
Thank you, Della. That was good.
Della, you're always fond of wisdom. Any other final comments before we close?
My
think
son's here to make sure that I get a walk in before it rains.
yeah, I think that's all for this week.
See you.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
friends.
Mm.
I love
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you.